All right, Laker Nation. Sad to say that the Dan Hurley Laker coach era is over after a few short days. Never even started. In fact, looking back and seeing how close Woj was with Hurley, and seeing how the Lakers never leak anything, it should have been more obvious to us, me included, that it was a Hurley leverage play for UConn. Um, Granted, I still want it to happen. We made a whole video about it. But truthfully, I don't really have much to say. I am upset that it's not working out, but we talked about the other options that we have. We're just going to go back to those other options, and we're going to talk about that more. But Matt, what was your initial reaction when you saw this?
Yeah, honestly, when they announced we'll find out Monday, I honestly had a bad feeling at that point because you hear the Laker job, you take it or you don't, and I agree with you. I think there was some leverage. I mean, him and Woj are really close. It sucks when you think the Lakers historically when they want their guy, they get their guy. This wasn't the case, obviously. I'm kind of questioning, was he, because Woj said this was their target all along, but somehow no one knew about it. Was this really true? But whatever, it's in the past. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Because now we're going back to Reddick. We're going back to the choices we made, about 3 videos about them. We're going back to that. I think Hurley's better than every single one of those choices.
Yeah.
So it does suck. Honestly, like, we're not the kind of guys to be like, oh, he sucks anyway. It's not great. It really stinks to see Lakers fans saying, "Oh, LeBron has to leave. It's his fault." LeBron's fans saying, "Oh, it's the Lakers' fault. This organization sucks. He has to leave." But the bottom line is, we didn't get our guy who I thought could have really helped out. But I mean, hope's not lost. You know, I do you think Reddick's the top choice now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know what else they would pivot. They only gave two interviews, two in-person interviews to one person as James Borrego, and I don't think they're going to hire him. I do think that it's potentially a good thing that Reddick was the only league go before this Hurley saga, because maybe now they expand into the Micah Nori, Edelman type bracket, because Woj mentioned that they had contacted them and talked to them about the job. The Lakers have, but there was no interview confirmation. The only person, like I just said, Borrego is the only person that's had an in-person interview more than one time, even JJ Redick, and based on reporting, which at this point I guess could be pretty shoddy. But I think if there is a silver lining to the JJ saga before the Dan Hurley saga, it's that maybe they open their search. If you believe that Hurley was actually the only real option for them, like they were trying to dedicate everything to that, and hoping to convince him, then I think it's not unrealistic to say they pivot to someone like Edelman or Nori, where it could still be a similar approach to basketball without like the pedigree or whatever. I think that's, maybe I'm coping too much. I'm really, really hoping for it, which I am, I guess. But I don't think that's impossible, truly.
Yeah, I think I just gotta say the stupid narrative going around that this is a bad job. You're gonna be the scapegoat. It's like, guys, Frank Vogel, when he had a team that fit what he wanted to do, he won a championship. Then he had a horrible team around him, and his incompetence as an offensive mind came out. So he didn't do his job, so he was fired. This past season was an absolute mess, and he had a big part in it. He didn't do his job, so he was fired. It's If Hurley would have came here, we would have had a good team, and he did his job. Even if we didn't win the finals, if we were a second round exit, he wouldn't have been fired. It's not LeBron is not impossible to coach. This stupid narrative about yet yes, you have big expectations. You are the most watched coach in the entire league. But if you do your job, you'll be fine. It's high stakes, high rewards. So that whole narrative going around is kind of making me upset.
Yeah, I mean, like, who knows what Hurley's motivations were, what the intentions were. Actually, I have a question to ask you about that later. But just to that point, you're talking about it. People will talk about like, oh, Hurley's waiting for a better job. Like, is he waiting for the Hornets to be open? What job is he waiting for that's better than the Lakers? Is it Like I jobs that are better to those people, I'm assuming, are like the Thunder or the Timberwolves or I don't know, a team like the Bulls or something. I truly don't know. It's like you are good. They allow you to be bad for a long time and hope that you become good. Like it's just a job with no expectation of success and thus no stress, which is fine if that's what you're looking for. Whatever, I don't care. But what I don't. It's just about people like that are scared of failing. I don't. I truly don't know what that mindset is. Like I can't even comprehend what that is.
I think
Regardless,
it's
yeah,
just
go ahead. Yeah.
I think it's just you keep yourself clean. Like I said, high risk, high reward. Or you can stay making millions at UConn and be the best in that sport. If he comes to the Lakers, if he brings a championship to the Lakers, he's like an all time coaching legend. Because I mean, back to back NCAA, then you do it in the NBA. But there's a good chance it fails, and then his reputation's there. So scared. I mean, it's tough to say it's scared of the moment, but really that's kind of what it is. Maybe he got a pay raise. You know,
He
rewarded his
has to
buddy.
have
Maybe that was the whole
gotten a
point of
pay
his.
raise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm saying, but for sure he got a pay raise.
Yeah.
So he
That.
got a pay raise. He's a chance to three-peat. His reputation stays clean, and yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah. He'll take. I don't even know. I don't know when he coaches. People are trying to say he'll take the Knicks job, and they're trying to fire Tibbs, who got them further than they ever have, like the last 2 years. Regardless, that's not my concern. What is our concern is, and the question I mentioned before, is that a huge narrative on Lakers' side of social media and just opinions in general is that this is the front office's fault because they're way too cheap and offered him too short and little of a contract. Did you see the quote unquote official offer?
Wasn't it 70 mil?
It was
Like
six
how
for
many
70
years?
mil. Yeah. So what do you think about that stuff? That whole narrative.
I don't know how you look at that and say that's short. I mean, what would you want? 15 years? Did you want a Yoshi Nobu Yamamoto deal?
I think it's
I don't quite get that.
I think it's because Woj was reporting, which again just shows that this is a leverage play for Hurley because Woj is literally best friends with Dan Hurley or whatever he was talking about. I think the reality of it is that they were expecting like an 8 year, $120 million contract or whatever. But because it was a contract, I think he would have been in the top 6 or 7. I don't know exact. I don't know why I'm stressing over because I don't know the exact numbers, but top 10 for sure, around top 5, highest paid coach in the NBA with that contract if he accepted it. And they're some Laker fans are taking this as a Genie's cheap, Rob is incompetent thing again. Which I mean, whatever. I don't care to defend them ever. I just don't like that. That's the initial reaction to every single time the Lakers don't get exactly who they want. Genie isn't cheap because this happens or that. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like the Lakers hard capped themselves last year to use different assets, and Laker fans are talking about they're cheap. And then there's reporting this offseason that they're not there will never go over the second tax apron, which is the most prohibitive tax or like roster building tax in all of American sports. And they're saying it's because she's cheap. And maybe she's cheap. I don't care. Like she could have signed Caruso back. Sure, that's cheap. Whatever. That upset me. But at a certain point, you have to be more than a 12-year-old in your brain and not resort to the first little, oh, she's cheap. They're, oh, Rob Pelinka doesn't know what he's doing. Like, I don't. People were talking about Hurley not wanting to leave anyway. Everyone was so shocked when he was mentioned as a candidate because it was improbable. It was incredibly unlikely for this to happen, which is why it was shocking when we heard the name. I feel like if you don't make magic happen, which is what signing Hurley would have been, that doesn't mean you are cheap or incompetent. It is stuff like trading for Russell Westbrook, like that is incompetent. I don't think you should look at these things in the same way. But because it happened with the same guy, it's not going to be whatever. I'm not going to start defending Plinka. I don't care. Make a better team. That's all I care about. Sorry, anywhere to go with that, Matt?
No, I mean, I don't think get how you could say that's cheap. I mean, there hasn't been a sign of being cheap. The Crusoe thing, I guess, and I made me mad too. I think they just didn't think he was that level of player. It wasn't like, oh, I don't want to spend money. It's just spending money on Caruso. I mean, I'm sure they take it back, but no, like you said, it was like I woke up and I saw that tweet and I was absolutely shocked. So in a way, it's not as bad because it wasn't like day one. This is the number one guy. This is the number one guy, and then we get shut down. Like this came out of left field. It was a dream for a couple days and then shot down. It's like okay, we're back. We didn't lose out on one of our original options. So that's the only positive thing out of this. I think honestly, I think Edelman's the guy. Redick, uh, honestly, I don't want Borrego. I'm gonna be keep it
Yeah,
real.
I
I
don't
really
either.
don't want Borrego. At this point, I prefer Redick over Borrego, but let's see what happens and see what tweets come out. To me, Edelman's my number one guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I don't usually say this. I'm not gonna pay attention to any more reporting. We'll talk about it for sure, like on here. But for my belief, the Lakers, for whatever you want to say about them, which is mostly negative from every other Laker fan in the world, they don't leak anything. Their last couple trades, the major Russ trade, the first Russ trade they made was not leaked. They talked about the Buddy Hield trade was being leaked for months in advance, just like constantly throughout the offseason. We're expecting it to happen. Russell Westbrook happens out of nowhere. Horrific day in the franchise, but it wasn't leaked. The D'Lo trade to get out of it was not leaked. The Darvin Ham hire was not leaked. The Lakers don't do that. For whatever that's worth, they don't do that. And frankly, shame on us as a collective Laker fandom for kind of buying into all the heavy leaks. Every single time there's been oh, the Lakers are really going to do this. Oh, every single reporter has the same scoop. Usually it's not from the Lakers. So that's
Yeah,
really all I got going forward.
remember how shocked we were when we saw D'Lo that came out of left
Yeah.
field.
Literally, there was not even like a hint of D'Lo anywhere. There wasn't even a Jazz trade like involved in the entire discussion of it. So yeah, there's nothing. We'll keep everyone updated on the rumors and what we would think of it if it happens because it's worth talking about. But in terms of like being official or really trying to do fleshed out thoughts, I don't know. I can't like truthfully because of how heavily it was leaked. I don't think it's gonna be Redick, especially not now seeing the response. Because if there's something the Lakers do, it's read responses. In fact, honestly, if I could do a little speculation, I think this last year's team, was built the way it was specifically because of Laker fans. Not like they were making the calls, but everyone was so tired of no continuity or whatever. And Palinka literally has never, ever, ever turned over a roster with more than like five of the same players on it, even after we won the championship. And all of a sudden, we have this team, and it's finally just please, God, one season all together. And that's the first time we do it. I don't know. Anyway, so if they do read into reactions of fans and stuff, I honestly am not expecting Reddick to be the coach, and frankly, that's all I got going for it. But we'll talk about everything. Matt, any last words before we get out of here?
Nah, nothing else.
Yeah, so Dan Hurley was the shortest-lived Laker coach in history of basketball, beating out Bernie Bickerstaff. Went 5-0 actually in the early 2010s. So yeah, we'll be back with more news, more talking about it. The offseason's picking up. Mavs are going to come back from a 2-0 lead to beat the Celtics in the finals, and that's really it. So talk to you guys soon. Go Lakers.